Hey guys, I'm Melinda. Happy spring. It's May 6th and it's actually my grandma's birthday today. So that's a pretty cool day to do my first video. We've got a whole new setup, including a speaker, a boom speaker, so that hopefully you can hear me. This is our farm, and Brian just spent the whole day mowing the lower fields and did a beautiful job, I might add. This is where the kids often play ball, and we're thinking about planting some of our cornfields down here and probably some squash and runner beans. I am gonna try to do the whole Holy Trinity, as they call that, which is our neighbor who is from the south, so that this is what you need to do. You plant your field of corn and you get the runner beans going up, and then you've got a whole sea of squash underneath, and then you have a big fancy party with bluegrass music. So that's a big plant. So this right here is the lower part. This is where the kids usually play soccer. Up here is where we have our chickens, and we've got our Permaculture Beds, which I know I've talked with you about before. I'll take you there in a second. This is our lower orchard. Over here we've got a bunch of pear and apple trees. We did a ton of pruning on those. We've got some more to do later. And one of the things that I absolutely dearly love about this property is the marshlands. The grasses come in and they become a sea of yellow and green throughout the whole year, and they're just glorious. So this is where often the kids will go biking. And in here is where we have the permaculture beds that I've been kind of making such a big fuss about. And they did take a fair amount of work to put together this year. We used all of the limbs from the pruning of our pear and our apple and our plum trees, and we put them in these massive stacks. We have one that is still uncovered by dirt, so I wanted to show you what that looks like so you can kind of picture it. That's right here. It's got a soccer ball in it. So as you can see, we put the largest pieces of wood on the base, and we kind of, as we went up, we went to medium pieces and branches at the top. We're going to cover this with chicken poop and straw, a bunch of fertilizer. I'll show you the one that we like to use, and a soil mix that we really have had a lot of success with. Over here is the beginning of our planting season. We waited till about 2 weeks ago when the soil temperature was up to at least 50 degrees, and the danger of a frost had really passed. It's very possible we'll have a huge one at the end of May. That sometimes happens on Bainbridge and in the Northwest, but I'm hoping not. So right now we have Thompson broccoli, cauliflower, 5 varieties of carrots, 150 onions, Walla Walla, red, and leeks. And then in this center bed right now we have all of our hardy winter greens. We've got in the center rainbow chards, 4 different varieties of kales, curly kale, lacinato kale, baby kale, and then we have colorful mustards and spinach and arugula, which we just planted a couple days ago, so that hasn't come up yet. And we're still gonna fill that in. One of the fun things that I discovered when planting greens is you really do not need to thin them according to package directions. You really can kind of be pretty freeform about it. I make sure that I have about a foot of space between each row of greens, and I do like to make everything look kind of pretty if I can. So I put the rainbow chard in the middle this time, hoping that that will kind of give a sense of fiery color and lush green. Last year we used borage, which was beautiful. It was full of edible blue flowers, and that looked incredible. That's also a great kind of centerpiece for a bed. Over here we're going to plant all of our lettuces. Last year this bed had our cucumbers, yellow squash, and zucchini, and you can't plant those in the same bed twice, otherwise you are at risk of kind of developing some disease issues with those plants. So we've got, I think we have 7 varieties of lettuces that are going to go in, 10 herbs, and what's the other thing that we have going in? We had just planted some celery here, and we have some beets. And then over here on this bed, we're gonna do all of our cucumbers and our squashes. And we also, I think we had about 500 to 600 cucumbers last year. We had so many. And we wanna get about that many or more and really can those for the year. And then over here is my writing studio. And underneath it, as you can see, is the 1901 root cellar, which was used for refrigeration of root veggies and fruits. And along this side, and actually wrapping around the front, is where we're going to try to plant all of our tomatoes to get a lot of radiant heat. And the tomatoes are not going to go in the ground for another 3 to 4 weeks, depending on how the weather develops it. We might do a little sooner. But the reason we're going to put it here is that when you have it up against a radiant heat or a background that's going to really push the heat into your plants, you will get a lot more from your harvest. Things will ripen faster, and you'll be able to get your canning season underway come August or September. Last year we planted them all in our permaculture beds, which is really not recommended for tomatoes. I'm realizing it just didn't work out that well. So that's one key note. This is not for tomatoes this year. And we'll see what happens with that. I just wanted to take you over here really quick and just show you some of the basics of how I'm getting organized right now. And I know I've kind of been going on and on about how excited I am to get this whole thing started, but we've had to wait for the weather to really cooperate. So it feels really good to start this one-year project of living off our land. As I told all of you, I was incredibly inspired by Barbara Kingsolver's Animal Vegetable Miracle when I first read it, and this has been a long time coming. So I just got some of these very basic markers. They were at our local gardening store. You do not need to use anything fancy. You could just use the plastic markers that come with your starts if you're using starts. In this case, I used a permanent marker. Those will hopefully last through the rains. And I'm just kind of like, setting it out and looking at what I have and figuring out where I want to plant everything. There's a lot of good tips that I can give you later on companion planting, getting things to grow best when they're, situated next to another plant that kind of helps with, pest and disease resistance. Right now, I'm going to plant tonight and tomorrow all of our peas, all of our lettuces, all of our herbs, beets, some parsnips, which I should have put in a bit ago, and radishes. And in a couple weeks we'll be able to do all of our melons, squashes, cucumbers, zucchinis. So hopefully this just gives you a little flavor of what we're doing here, where we live, what it's like on a semi-nice day. And it's just really nice to connect with all of you because I've been so incredibly grateful to have all of you join us on this journey and read my posts and comment on them and more importantly share your story about what you're doing and your successes and failures, because we're really learning as we go. And it's great to have a community of friends and journeyers as we go through this process. So I hope that you're all enjoying your early spring, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks.